Got my Okie Hits shirt on.
Always.
I think we're live.
All right. Let us know if you are on this live and that you can see us, because we're doing it outside and we don't know if it's going to work. So
yeah, I don't know. We have another setup beside us that we are going to try to keep watch on the comments, because we have a little bit of a glare. It's not as bad as it was.
Yeah, it was worse. Yeah.
And we were actually planning on going live on the Max Life, but we ran into a major hiccup there, and this wonderful technology world, it wouldn't work. So we decided to jump on the Max channel and kind of celebrate the new channel and crossing over to 10,000. So that's very exciting. And we appreciate y'all, because without y'all, it doesn't really matter.
That's right. So we see some people jumping on now. So that's really good. So how's
All
everyone's evening going so far?
Tennessee, Arkansas, Michigan.
Hey, Rehab Life. It's been a long time no see, man.
It has been a long time since we've been on the live.
Yeah, how long has it been since we've
been on? It's been a long time.
So we're actually going to try to do a few periodic lives, hopefully on the Max Life channel.
If we can get through the hiccups, yeah.
That's right. It was supposed to be, since that's a newer channel, they have a waiting time, which we didn't know. So we're going live on this channel tonight, but typically we will go live on the Max Life from now on the vlog channel, just so y'all can know that in the next few weeks coming up.
Lots of people coming in. Y'all, thanks so much for jumping on. Hopefully we won't melt. It is sunset here, so it's still a little warm.
There's a few that has 111, 105.
Oh, wow.
So it's about 90, I think 98 here, but our humidity level is like 300%. So, so it's
that's
really hot.
What makes it so bad, is that the humidity level here is really
There's some
bad.
local that's from Mississippi too, so that they know
y'all get it. Yep, from
it.
Hattiesburg. Yeah, absolutely. Texas, I know Texas is another hot one. Pennsylvania, Gulfport, yeah, lots of y'all jumping on from all over.
Question: how do you keep cool in the summer without electricity when you are using generators for refrigerators? So we have the grid. We do have off-grid options, but it is very hot here. Our house is double insulated. We actually have two forms of insulation, so it does pretty well. We don't have to run any extra air or heat typically, just because our house has been insulated.
I can actually keep mine on about 74 or 75 and it still be comfortable.
Absolutely.
Remember, guys, too, because I see that we have almost 250 on. When you want us to spot a question when a lot of people are commenting, please put them in all caps, because it catches our attention.
There's one right
easier.
There. Misty, I want to make dandelion root tinctures. What instructions would you recommend?
So I would definitely make sure, first of all, that wherever you're harvesting from is not sprayed. So you don't want to harvest from anywhere along the roadsides, anywhere that you're not familiar with. Y'all know I'm not a real good measurer. So I personally would just make sure that it's cleaned really, really well.
Thanks,
and I fill up my jars with my herbs, and then make sure you have 80 to 100% proof alcohol. I put those over any herbs that I have, let them sit for 6 to 8 weeks. So obviously, the longer you let it sit, the better. Then I strain off all of the particles that are left, and then you're left with the tincture. Now, what I always tell everybody to do is, if you're unfamiliar with anything, I still to this day refer to my books, just because there is so much in them. There's so many different herbs. There's so many different ways you can prepare the same herb. There are so many different ways to use it. And I just cannot remember all of them. So I refer to my books a lot.
So what is your favorite book on tinctures?
I have not written any books. I'm not there yet. My favorite book, though, is by Nicole Appelian. I think that's how you say her name. And she has a couple of books. One of my absolute favorites that she has out is
Hey, Grammy Karen.
The
Wild Foraging.
I do really like the foraging, but I like it just totally left my mind, y'all.
Lost Remedies.
Yeah, the Lost Remedies, Lost Herbal Remedies by Nicole is a really, really good book. If y'all go over to our Amazon store, I felt like this was the least complicated way.
Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. I see it.
The least complicated way to put all of my books together is on the storefront. You can go into herbal books, and I have all of the ones, even down to the children ones that I have that I really, really love. The ones that I use all the time. I have several. Like, have an encyclopedia of herbs. It's a lot of the scientific names are in there, so it's kind of hard to use. I don't have those on there, even though I have those. But the ones I have listed are the ones I like the most. So if y'all jump on to our Amazon store, all of that stuff is listed in the description. You will see a complete list of books of the ones that I have and use.
Dawn, what do you put in your jar of eggs? How long do they last? So that's water glassing eggs. Misty has a video on the Max Life. It's pickling lime. We buy it in bulk, and we bought it in bulk this last time from Azure.
Yeah.
So you can buy it in bulk.
Hey, it was Walker Farm.
It wasn't that expensive, especially. I mean, you're not using a lot, so a 50-pound sack of lime would last you almost a lifetime. So, but check that out: pickling lime, water glassing eggs. Missy just did a whole video on it. They last. We dealt with people saying that last 3 to 5 years. We've experienced at least a year already. Yeah. So they say a year to 2, but to be honest with you, when we did a talk at the Okie Homestead. Someone was there and said that it lasted around 3. They ate one that was 3 years old with no issue. So I guess it depends on what are you storing them in, where you're storing them in, kind of glass or plastic, and location.
How do you keep your chicken water cool? We don't.
We actually fill up 2 other feed buckets full of water and keep them outside the barn. But they are provided
shade, like they're in an enclosed container where they are provided shade.
And that water doesn't have direct sun on it. That's another thing too. So if your water is in direct sun, I've seen people freeze.
In direct sun.
They'll get like blocks of ice and freeze it in bowls and just put it over in there.
It wouldn't take long for that to melt here.
Yeah, definitely.
An hour or so. I saw a couple other
questions. When
do
you cut your calendula flowers? When they open or before they die?
When they open.
There you go. Dawn, do you guys freeze dry any of your own food? Absolutely. We're actually freeze drying corn right now to make cornmeal, but we do freeze dry mostly all our food. We bought tons of food in prepping over the years. Supplies of years and years and years, and then we finally got realizing that why are we trusting other people with freeze dried food? Why don't we just freeze dry ourselves? So we bought a Harvest Right, a smaller one, and then we've upgraded.
I didn't see the question, but the Harvest Right freeze dryer has been a major game
runs
changer.
Daily. It literally never
major
stops
game changer here. If there was any major equipment that I could ever recommend, it would definitely be our freeze dryer. All right, someone asked about continuing education for nursing as far as herb studies. So I use a program when I'm ready to do continuing education for my license. I do a program, and it is like a pre-wrote up program. Mm-hmm. So I just go in and do all of the reading and stuff. But I don't know about any specific one for herbs. What do you put in your jar of eggs? Oh,
yeah, you're behind that.
Okay.
All right, Monica said, I've joined Azure Standard location. What do you suggest purchasing from them? Now, we buy everything in bulk from them. So we look at anything like wheat berries, any flour that's unenriched or organic. We also buy organic alfalfa from them. Misty's favorite, it's even though we make yogurt, tell them your favorite.
I love the yogurt.
I
can't remember the brand.
I can't either.
But the cream is on the top, and it's
got so much fat and so much sugar in it. But that's like Misty's go-to. So that's kind of her cheat thing.
Yeah, I actually make my own yogurt for smoothies, and I actually dumped a half a container in the last batch of bread that I made. And I like to play around with bread, y'all. I have these recipes, and they're like, oh, they're great, and then I change them up, and I'm like, oh, it's better.
Jason,
but anyway, I added some yogurt. It was so good. But their yogurt, if I'm just going to sit down and eat yogurt, their yogurt is so good. Okay, Is there a cooling fan during, like when the grid is down, that you would recommend?
Yes, there's
definitely
one.
a solar. I would
There's a
definitely look
solar
at some
option
solar
fan.
options.
I did a video on grid collapse, and we have a solar fan that we actually have. You can use this for your chickens. You can use it as an attic fan, or you can use it in your home, but it is ran off a solar panel and has a long cord to it. But check that video out. It has a great solar fan in there. We've actually hooked it up, used it. Now it's actually back in the box because we don't want to hurt it, and we keep it just in case.
All right, Walker Farm fam, I'm assuming this is Cassie from reading.
Someone said
and
they can't find our Amazon link. It should be in our description, I think.
She said that they're eating the chickens that she butchered. Text me and let me know how it tastes, because
Which ones?
the American breast.
Oh yeah, the breasts.
So they raise so much, which is really cool, because that's what we just swapped to as well. And I'm really interested to know what they taste like. I have a couple out of 12. 5 or 6 are roosters for sure, and they all can't stay. We're going to keep a couple of roosters, and then the rest have to go. Where do you get your pickle and lime from? Azure. You can also find it at your local hardware stores, Home Depot. Just make sure you're looking for food grade, because remember, you are putting it on your eggs.
That's a good question. So Joe said, what is your views on storing in plastic jars or bottles? We try not to store in any plastic. Even our eggs, the foods, we'll use old recycled glass, even glasses that we've had, condiments in. If we're restoring anything like spices, herbs, we'll use old mason jars. We try not to use any plastic unless we just have to.
All right, here's a good question. How do you get rid of grasshoppers? That's a great question. I had grasshopper problems a couple of years ago. Make your area attractive to birds, even if you have to set up bird houses. I had a friend tell me just a couple of weeks ago that she had taken an old mailbox and put it out by one of the areas she was planting in, and was hoping that birds would come, and they did. So if you can get birds in the area where your gardens are, they will come and help you with those type critters. So I would say maybe try to make it appealing for birds so that they can come eat those grasshoppers.
Yeah, birdhouse gourds would be good there.
Yeah.
There's the link. Thank you, Grammy Karen. Man, on top of it.
Yes, thank you, Grammy Karen. Okay, somebody said that they have been trying to get the lime from Azure, and they're always out. I do have to put it in my cart, and if I don't get it that month, I put it in my cart again. But that's why I went ahead and got 50 pounds, because you can put them in food grade 5-gallon buckets, and it's not going to go bad. So you don't have to worry about trying to find it. But to get you by, you could go to a local hardware store and pick that up to get you by until Azure.
Monica, squash bugs, you can use BT. BT is an OMRI listed, so it is an organic treatment to your plants. You can cut them out and literally take them out of your plants. Misty actually packed ours back with, what'd you pack it back in? To make potassium, basically. It was like a banana.
Ground up bananas and eggshells. Cassie, that just means y'all have to come back, girl.
How many acres do you guys have? We have around 39 acres, around 40 acres, but we also lease another part. But our actual farm sits on 40 acres.
Yeah, so with the squash bugs, I would go in, and it's like a surgery on them. What I have found is if they make it up to the top,
it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
You can take them and inject BT in there, and if they get into the BT, then they're good. So I always try to start above where I think they could even possibly be, because if you go under them, it's just not going to work either. But if you can get them when they're low enough, and there's usually several in there, but if you can cut up until you get to the healthy part of the stem and you get them suckers out, you can just repack them with soil. But BT works too, especially if they're really high up.
Okay, so a few questions. The Nicole Pellion book is a lost book of herbal remedies. What's the best way to preserve venison? You need to actually do a true canning, pressure canning. That's a great way to preserve meat, and it does not need the grid. Let's see. There's one more question. I'm new to your page. How far do y'all prepare? We look at everything is good. So if you have a week, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, a year, you need to shoot. I always say shoot for 7 years. We're biblical, so we look at everything as in the form how Joseph did in the Old Testament. Now, we probably have more than 7 years now if you really averaged out how much food that we actually have. But when we first started, we bought a lot of freeze-dried food over time and added up to around 3 to 7 years, and then we have got so much food.
Does anybody know the name for BT, like the actual name? BT's for short. Kind of like DE is short for diatomaceous earth, I guess how you say that. But BT is like short.
You can pick that up
something.
at any co-op, but you need to look for the OMRI listed. It is an organic treatment for your plants. If you don't want to cut them out, you syringe it and actually shoot it into the vein of the squash plant.
Oh yeah, once they're in the squash, they're going to hollow the
thing out.
They're going to hollow it out anyway.
There you go. Thank y'all.
Yes. I knew BT stood for something. I just didn't know exactly what it was.
Neem oil is good if you're spraying on things. We have used neem oil.
I have used neem oil. If you're going to spray stuff, I mean, I know everybody's different. And y'all, I see that we're double where we were and people a while ago. So when y'all are commenting, that's great. But if you're asking a question, please put it in capital letters so that we can see the questions. In the comments.
All right, Liz says, have you ever planted potatoes from potato berries? I have saved seeds from some. So we're not sure what potato berries are. I don't know if you're talking about the nodes on the potato. Potatoes are nightshade, so we tend to plant the whole tuber. If we're planting sweet potatoes, we take the nodes off, which makes slips. So I'm not sure. Berries may be a different term than what we use in the South. So I'm not sure what you're talking about on berries, but we keep the slips off the sweet potatoes, and so you have a forever crop. And then we also plant either half or whole of the potato, as long as it has a node on it when we talk about regular red potatoes or yellow potatoes.
I'm not sure, Cassie. You'll have to get with me.
What would you recommend for bad arthritis pain herb-wise? We talked about
that's a loaded question because there are a lot. Typically arthritis is stemmed from some type of inflammation. Mm-hmm. So instead of really looking for more arthritis, you're going to want to look for more things that handle inflammation. And there are a lot of different herbs that handle inflammation. So again, that's kind of one of those, if I was dealing with something, I would go to my book and go through my book. Typically what I would do and say, okay, what I have that I can use. If you don't have many herbs, then you could go through there and maybe even see what is the most economical and then buy from there. That's what I would say do. All right, we're losing some questions, but I can't get this to scroll back down.
Yeah, to do all that. All right, so how do you plan for a fall planting when you can't buy from a nursery? We never buy from a nursery. So try seeds. Look at Survival Seeds, Hull Seeds, or Baker Creek. All those are great heirloom, non-GMO organic seed providers.
I won't say that we haven't ever.
But
we try not to because
I don't remember the last time we bought from a nursery.
Nurseries, and again, this goes back to chemicals and stuff. We just don't like to use anything that's been sprayed, anything that's been artificially fertilized. So we try to use our own compost and start from seeds. That way we know everything has been organically. I saw a question earlier that we didn't. How do glass jars compare to Mylar bags and 5-gallon buckets in regards to quality for freeze-dried and dehydrated foods?
All right, so you want to keep as much light off of anything that you're actually utilizing for food storage. So
glass jars would be something I was planning to use
within a certain time period.
Within the next 6
That's
months.
Right. Or if you're pressure canning, we'd say in the next year or two, because that's going to be okay. But you still don't want to just have them in full sun. Food grade buckets are great. We do have a lot of food grade buckets for our bulk. Now, if we're freeze drying, we're actually going to use Mylar bags pretty much all the time, unless for long-term storage. If we're, again, using onions or garlic, if Missy's cooking with them, we'll put them in glass jars. But Mylar bags are the very best when it comes to 25-year shelf life. We have all those things that you said. We have glass, we have Mylar bags, and we have food grade buckets. I saw someone say food grade buckets are expensive. We can buy ours at our local co-op or our local Walmart for $4.99 a piece.
And that you can get a lot in those.
Yeah, and that's 5 gallons, and you can buy the 3-gallon version.
Do you just
of that
stock up on food, or like everything, like medical supplies, house items,
everything?
And
so if you go back and watch some of our videos we have a playlist called Stocking and Prepping Must-Haves.
I'm fixing to do an updated pantry video too, so y'all stay tuned for that.
But if you look at that, we've got a first aid, we've got a bartering, we've got medical, we've got stockpile dealing with self-defense. We've got tons of stockpile videos dealing with more than just food. Great question though.
Somebody asked about beetles, moles. We don't have moles.
Yeah, not here.
Here, really. Beetles, you're probably, things like DE is not going to work. You're probably going to have to look at again, like attracting birds, attracting things like praying mantis. There's going to be some sprays. I'm sure companion planting is really big. There is an app called Seed to Spoon, and if you get on there, it will tell you the exact herbs that certain pests don't like. I've talked about these in my videos. So a lot of the stuff that we're telling y'all, a lot of it is in our videos. But if you use that app, you can go to pest and look up the pest that you're dealing with, and it will tell you companion plants for that pest. Okay,
started my half-acre garden from seed this year. How do I get seeds? Misty's got great videos on the Max and the Max Life channel talking about how to collect your seeds or how to collect slips depending on what you're growing. Everything is different, so I challenge you to get a book. When it comes to herbs, learn how to keep herbs first, because it's just about the easiest thing.
Seed to Seeds, I think, is the book that I have. Like, for example, tomatoes, pumpkins, a lot of those things are wet. So it has to go through a process. You have to go through a process to clean those seeds before you can keep them. Peas are literally just going to die on the vine. Literally, once they die, I let mine dry out before I store them. What is another thing? There are some that have to mature, like fully mature out before you try to collect those. Otherwise, the seeds won't germinate because they're mature seeds. There's just a lot to it. And again, like Colby said, when you stick your head in those books, man, I usually try to spend, after my Bible time at night, I usually just try to spend 5 or 10 minutes reading something herb related, garden related. It's just really good. Sometimes I can't put the books down. I'm doing Carrots Love Tomatoes right now, and I have a notebook full of notes that I really like it. And I've been working on it for weeks now, just trying to grow that knowledge.
Okay, so someone asked what a co-op is. A co-op is a cooperative. Basically, it's a local farm store that has agricultural needs or seeds. It's kind of like a local version of Tractor Supply or a local version of a big box store like that.
Where can I buy
it's very easy to get. So
Amazon. A lot of my books come from thrift book store. Look at your local libraries and see, a lot of times they have seasons where they get rid of books for almost like pennies to the dimes. Garage sales, man, thrift stores, secondhand shops. You go through the book section, you'll be surprised at the kind of books that you can find. What did y'all put on your strawberries to keep them from being eat up completely by the bugs?
So we, for winter, we deep bed and just leave leaves on them. Misty picks our garden. Misty picks those kitchen gardens where our strawberries are. So if she's weeding, let me go back, picking. The kids pick, we pick, well, everybody picks, but Misty weeds that area. So if she sees bugs, she, of course, addresses that, or either takes them or kills them or takes them to our chickens. But we've not had just like a massive infestation there, especially if you keep it clean. Those are in no-till beds. So we have a lot of hardwood mulch around that, or we have plastic.
Again, companion planting is like a big thing. You want to put plants around the areas where pests are coming in. A lot of onions, garlics, dills, mints, things like that will help tremendously. Now, some things don't like to be planted together. So again, if you go back to that app, you can go to strawberries and you can look up what is companion planted with strawberries. You can go to pest and look up and see what those pests don't like and put them all together and bam, you've got a bed.
All right, 3 questions there. Rockin' G said, so store garlic in glass jars with airtight lid. No, this is how we store garlic. We either store garlic for long-term in mylar bags that's sealed up, or we store garlic. Of course, we're grinding or dehydrating and making a powder out of it.
And making some powder, and then I put it in
we put it in a mason
use it.
jar, not sealed, especially if we're going to use it over the next year or two. As long as it's in a dry area and it's been dehydrated or freeze-dried, you have no problem there. Next question, how long do seeds stay usable from a tomato plant? As long as you keep them in a good quality position, they really last over a year.
Dark.
We had some
people, a lot of the old timers freeze them, and they can stay in there for years.
But if I'm not mistaken, we used peas, some corn, and some tomatoes that were about 3 years old and didn't have a problem with them. Now, that's not every seed, but some do last longer than a year. What is the difference in wheat berries, and can I store them in steel garbage cans? You can store them in that, but they're not going to hold and they're not going to seal off, so they may not can grow, or they may not grind well, or you may have a bug issue. So when it comes to wheat berries, we put them in mylar bags for long-term storage or food-grade buckets that do seal in a controlled environment. Are you guys part of a prepping group? That is something that we would not discuss. So I would challenge you to look locally for prepping groups, look in community centers or look in churches. We do have friends.
Poison ivy, get jewelweed. See if you can find jewelweed. If you live in the South, it grows everywhere here. I have poison ivy on my face, right eyelid. Do you have a remedy for it? Jewelweed. The juice from jewelweed.
All right. Anybody else? You see any crazy questions there?
Oh, well, I'm trying to find the ones that are in caps so that we can see them.
All right. Sam, buffering. Does everybody have a connection still? We can't hear our audio, so we want to make sure that everybody's got clarity there. Thanks so much, Strawberry Buffet. I hope so. All right. Saying it's cutting out. Hopefully we'll get past the buffering, y'all. Okay, so we've got a few good. So hopefully
it'll
come on.
Can y'all hear us still?
There's been a few people say yes and no.
Sound is fine here. Good here. Sounds good. Yes. Okay. All is good.
Perfect. All right. Shoot us with some other questions. Any other questions y'all have? We're trying to hit them. And it could be on prepping, gardening, farming. I mean, we literally have today.
Y'all refresh the feed, guys, if you're having trouble. Just refresh the feed.
We harvested corn. We harvested beans, peas, honey, milk cows every morning, and just processed some beef. So we can answer all kind of questions.
Hey, when are you getting some more Freedom Rangers? That would be a big never. That would be a big never. So the funny thing about the American breast, and if Cassie's still on here, she can attest to this a little bit, but they seem to be really skittish. Mm-hmm. Like if we walk out, then like run to the other side. So to where the Cornish cross was so funny, they would like attack you for feed which to me, I'm like, that is so unhealthy. But anyway, they're real skittish, but man, we bought 12. We started with 12. We still have 12. I just have no complaint. They're growing off absolutely beautiful.
They're on pure grass.
They're very hardy. They forage really well. I threw them some greens from the garden the other day. We had some, what were they? Self-sowing greens that were still out in our garden. So I just feed them. I feed on those. How is your new chickens? That's what I'm talking about. The American breast.
You can.
They are wonderful.
You can, and jar squash. Basically, we don't cold water. I mean, a hot water bath. We actually do a pressure canning on that.
Yeah. Now, it's not recommended, so I'm not going to recommend this to you. And a lot of people have said that they cut it up real thin. I had another lady tell me that she did that, and it kind of mushed. I don't do my squash like that. I cut mine up into cubes and loosely pack them so that I can make sure that the water all throughout the jar comes to a nice rolling boil within the jar. So I don't not can my squash because the book doesn't say. Okay.
So it's a question. All freeze-dried food has sodium should. No, the thing about freeze-dried food or canned, we've heard people say with canned foods is that, it's got too much sodium. The thing is, if all your diet is based on one thing, anything can be bad for us. So we have to look at moderation in anything that we're doing. So if you're using freeze-dried food or you're using canned food, you have to learn to preserve in other forms and fashion. So we freeze food, we freeze-dried food, we dehydrate food, and we also can food. So we're not getting one thing only. So for instance, people say all the time, well, tuna is bad because it has mercury in it. Well, if you're eating tuna 3 times a day, that probably could be bad for you. But if you're eating broccoli 3 times a day, you may have a really bad stomach ache. So you have to look at everything in moderation. So it's not that sodium is bad for you. Just like when people say, well, if you eat too many eggs, you're going to have cholesterol issues. Actually, cholesterol for a man is really good. It's just the way that we've been taught that cholesterol is bad, especially in a GMO version amount of food or something that's been pasteurized like
there's
egg.
good cholesterol and then there's bad cholesterol.
If you're eating it from eggs and you're eating farmhouse eggs, I eat eggs like 4 meals a day,
Yeah.
like literally.
But I wouldn't suggest for you to go get canola oil or peanut oil and fry your fish in them in the name of cholesterol.
Right.
Because that is the bad cholesterol. You want to stick to the good butters, the non-GMO organic eggs. You want to stick to your good cholesterol things, not your bad cholesterols. Okay, I saw a good question a while ago. Let me see. A lot of freeze-dry food have a lot of sodium. Did you?
Yeah, that's the one we just answered.
Where should I get equipment to process chickens? That's a great question. And can you do a meat processing video post? Well, we have several of those.
So, Emmanuel, we have several of chicken butchering. We have 2 or 3 on chicken butchering, and actually detailed. Actually, one of them got demonetized and actually held for review because we showed a butchering of chicken. We also show we have a one on pig butchering. We butchered and broke down the hog all the way throughout every part of the hog into what they call primals and also into bacon, sausage, and so forth. So we have one broken down all that way. So check out.
We have a couple of chicken butcherings too.
We have a lamb butchering, but I don't think we showed every cut.
Where do you get your chicken processing stuff from?
So I ordered most of mine through the internet just because we're a small town, so we don't have anything like that. I will say this though. Bass Pro started carrying Yardbird equipment, so they have something you can process with. Cabela's does too. Academy has it too. So if you're looking at big box stores close to you, those would be good. If you're needing to order it, you can always look on Amazon or you can look on
When
chicken
did you
processing.
take the jump into living a farming lifestyle?
We'd say 15 years ago when we started really gardening, and then probably the last 10 years we've really been die hard.
All right, a lot of y'all have been asking about Japanese beetles. If some of y'all are just jumping on, I've suggested to make things attractive around your garden that would attract birds to eat these bugs, grasshoppers, beetles, and alike. They will eat anything crawling around on the ground. I actually saw a bird hopping away with a grasshopper in its mouth not too long ago.
I don't like spiders, but spiders are good. If you see spiders, praying mantises,
frogs, all
those
of those
in the garden
things,
are good.
You want to do things to attract those things in. Also, there are many companion plants out there that you can put together. How's your fish pond? Somebody said the corn. The corn is growing up amazing. It's really good. It's about half the height as it was when it all got blown over. And I did row it up, but I do plan on going back out there. I'm going to have to make Colby get out there and help me with this part of it. I want to put some cattle panels on each sides and in the middle, held up by some T-post. So if the wind blows either way, at least they will have something to slightly lean onto, and that will hopefully help not destroy that. The fish pond is really good.
Ladybugs do help.
They're good for aphids, and they will eat a lot of the eggs that some of the adult bugs are laying. They will eat the eggs.
How do you preserve smoked meat? So when you smoke meat, you can cure them out. If you're making like a summer sausage, you can use that, and it cures itself. It's a long hanging process. So if you're doing hams, like a salted cured ham, basically you would age it for 30 days in a brine, and then hang it in your house for about 6 months in a ham sack. But we preserve smoked meats all the time. We preserve sausage and and bacon. And we would freeze those, especially if we're going to eat them. You can cure them out even stronger in salt, but you'd be needing a salt box or a cool temperature. In Mississippi, we couldn't do it outside all year long.
Okay, I was trying to find some more questions.
Have you bought seeds this year, and did they didn't germinate? I'm not sure. That might have been for somebody else. We buy seeds all the time. However, we raise our own seeds too. The stronger your seed is, the heirloom seeds, they get stronger over time and more resilient and more resistant to anything in your area, especially if you're keeping your same seeds.
Yes. So over generations, your seeds will build tolerance to pests and diseases alike. What type of dehydrator do you recommend? I have an Excalibur. It is phenomenal. A 9 shelf. 9 I call them shelves. But dehydrator, and I love it. I do use it a lot. I use my freeze dryer more, but I absolutely love my dehydrator. They are absolutely wonderful for drying. I love using it for all of my herbs, all of my eggshells. I just don't like, it's not necessary, and I suppose you could use the oven, but I like to have my eggshells dry when I grind them, because if you don't and there's any tacky filling or any moistness in the shells, then when you're grinding them, they won't come out like a powder, and that's what I am looking for.
Esther said, do you think it will be better in Mississippi than Louisiana in event of catastrophic event? Mississippi is it's an impoverished state. I mean, it's just a lot of land. We don't have a lot of big cities, so that does play in our favor when you talk about a scenario like that. In Louisiana, if you're close to Baton Rouge or New Orleans, that would not be the best. If you're in the bayous and kind of away from everybody, it wouldn't matter, I guess, because nobody's going to come down there scared of alligators, so I think you'll be okay there. So.
All right, I saw a good question a while ago. I'm terrified of snakes. How do you keep them away from your chickens and your gardens? We have a cat. Yeah. And I used to have snakes that would come on my porch. And I had an older lady tell me one day, she said, you need a cat. And I got a cat. I'm not saying that we don't have snakes, because we do. But I have never seen them on my porches like I did the first couple of years when we were here. Front and back door, I walked out a couple of times.
And inside. We've had snakes inside too.
But the cat helped tremendously. So that could be something that you're looking at. I think the bugs are like starting to attack us.
I know. It's getting late. Doug and Stacey are phenomenal. I know they were going live tonight, so y'all go check them out for sure.
I don't like spiders either. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't encourage you to do much with spiders, but if they're there, just leave them alone.
Armograph, if your seeds are not germinating, make sure you are getting heirloom and non-GMO seeds, because if you're getting a hybrid seed, they're not going to germinate, especially year over year.
Yeah, hybrid seeds, or in the thing with. Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Do you guys have a wood cook stove? We do. We actually have a smoker that runs off a wood cook stove.
It's called a Fat Boy or something.
Yeah. Hey, Over the Hill Deal, thank you so much. That means the world to us. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Any ideas to get rid of beavers? Wow. I'm going to tell you two ways we got rid of beavers.
One you're not going to want to hear about. One
is we put alligators in our pond. I know that sounds crazy. We're in South Mississippi, so alligators are pretty known to
we put them in, and then we had to get somebody to get them out.
After a while, you have to get them out. But alligators is one way, Over the Hill Deal. And just to be honest with you, if they're causing problems and damming something up, like we have a little island in our lake.
But beavers are considered to be a pest in our area.
Yeah, they're a nuisance.
About other places.
So we can actually shoot them.
So we can kill them at any point in time if they are causing issues.
Yeah, like to our dam, for instance.
We don't kill anything that
we don't eat.
Right. Unless it is causing issues with our other animals or our threat to our kids, or whatever. Like if we had a really stray dog up here that was really aggressive or whatever with my kids outside, of course, I couldn't chance my kids being outside with an aggressive stray dog. I would have to just shoot it or whatever. But that's a great question though. I would definitely say something along the lines like Colby alligator. If you could stand to stay for a bit and shoot them, that would probably be your best option.
Storing dehydrated food, same way. Mylar bags if we're looking for long-term storage. If we're looking for just quick and we're going to be eating it over time. Like, for instance, we did sweet potatoes. We freeze-dried sweet potato leaves and herbs the other day, like moringa. Anything like that, we would put strictly in a jar because we're going to be eating it over time, over the next year or so. Alligators scare me. Alligators don't scare me unless you come
You're
up on
so
a nest.
welcome over the hill. We appreciate
If you go on a female's nest, that's when they're going to hiss and you're going to know they're there. Most of the time, like the male alligators or even a regular alligator, just in the lake, they're not going to really bother you as long as you're not on their eggs.
Yeah.
If you get into their nest.
I mean, just like with anything else, they're not aggressive unless they feel threatened. And that's pretty much, I think, with most animals, they don't become aggressive unless they're provoked. So.
I saw that question about prepping in the Bible. For us, we look at it as God gives us wisdom. Wisdom creates stewardship. Stewardship makes sustainable and satisfaction. So we look at everything as, okay, God gives us smarts to do things with our food and with our family. We want to take care of them. So we look at raising children as stewardship as well. As we harvest on the ground as stewardship. Also, we always reference Joseph back in the Bible. Without him in Egypt, there would have been 7 bad years. So God showed him that this would be happening through the dreams with the cow. So the main thing was for us as we look at, if you can have 7 years of food, you can pretty much make it through anything. So there was another question that said, if you're older,
alligator tail is pretty good.
If you're older, how do you prepare? Well, the main thing is food. When it comes to, we talk about self-defense. We talk about,
thank you so much.
We talk about self-defense. We talk about other needs that you need. Food is the key. Even more than money, food is the key. Thank you, Marnie Jackson. That's so very sweet of you for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
You're awesome for doing that. We sure don't deserve that. So.
Well, that's what we're here for, is to answer questions tonight. Well, we're going to do our best. So we don't know it all by any means. But
I don't know anything about that, Sharon. A swamp cooler, I'm not sure. I saw another question someone asked about root cellars. Here in Mississippi, it's just kind of impossible.
Yes, eggshells are okay to feed back to your chickens. We actually do that all the time.
All the time, especially if you notice your eggshells being soft or a little bit thinner, learn to give them back the eggshells because you're adding calcium, which will help it harden, which will also help you when you come to water glassing eggs because you're building a better shell.
That's right.
Your favorite brand of Mylar bags? Harvest Right would probably be my favorite. If you can't buy them from Harvest Right, you can get them straight off Amazon, and there's all kind of brands. But Harvest Right tends to be a great Mylar bag we've used.
If I'm not mistaken, I didn't know that a lot of you guys didn't know what co-ops are, but I think that our local
has Mylar bags?
I think so.
It might.
They have like a whole section of like canning stuff and jars, and I've seen hot water bath and stuff in there. And I think that I've seen Mylar bags in there last time I was in there.
Have you used the air fryer for dehydrating?
Oyster shells are awesome too. We have used
definitely.
Those before too.
But using the shell is you're being sustainable. You're using something that's already on your farm. Someone asked, have you used an air fryer for dehydration? We have not. We don't have an air fryer. Anything that produces a form of quick cook. So Instapots, air fryers, microwaves, we tend not to use. We're not looking down on you for using those things, but we just tend, anything that's kind of radioactive or uses some kind of compression, we just tend not to use. Like heating up food for us is a long process, but it's something we just said, you know what, it's worth it to
I
us.
will say I'm going to encourage y'all not to use the microwave. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
I had somebody tell me today, hey, you just want to pop that in the microwave? I said, no, I don't.
We hadn't had a microwave since we moved in this house, and that's been what? How many years?
10 years.
10 years. Actually, we built the cabinetry, and it was built, when we built it, the builder was like, well, here's where your microwave goes. And I'm like, no, we won't do that. We'll just put a toaster oven. It kind of blew his mind that we wouldn't have a microwave.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage y'all to stay away from the microwave. Okay. Slowly work your way away from using the microwave. It's really not that big of a deal once you get used to it.
Aster, if we go off grid, we are on the Blue Eddy solar generators.
Awesome.
And also we have a propane backup. That is a 15,000 kilowatt unit there. And it hooks straight to a big propane tank we have.
Dehydrates with a sun oven. That is a wonderful idea. If you don't have a dehydrator, you don't have a sun onion, you can get some brown
sun onion or sun
oven. Oh, I was going to tell them something about onion, so I had it on my mind. All right, but listen, for real, this is easy. During the summer, when you're harvesting your herbs, you can put them in a brown paper sack that's like sometimes you can pick up for free at stores. Put them in the trunk of your car in the summer. Just don't put garlic and onion or you'll regret that.
Oh my gosh.
Because you and your whole car will smell like garlic and onions, okay? But You can put all of your dills, a lot of your flowers, anything that you're wanting to dry out.
We have a dehydrator and a freeze dryer, and we still have herbs hanging in our front window.
Kimberly,
thanks so much, Kimberly. That means the world to us. So thank you so much.
Y'all are so
we appreciate
sweet.
You. Next, to use solar for water heating and cooking. Yes. So our solar is big enough to push cooking. I would not run my heating off of it. We have a wood fire stove inside, or a wood. Excuse me. We have a chimney inside and also one outside that we're actually sitting by. Both of those options allows us to cook and heat, especially indoors, without having to hook into the grid or use our solar for that. Our solar would be mainly for refrigerators as we utilize, and for cooking. And if we needed, hot water heater or boiling and things like that, we could
When I put my kombucha in the smaller jars after they've gone through their second ferment, yes, I do put them in the refrigerator, because if you don't, they're going to continue to build gas within the jar, especially if they're in an airtight container. And if you open that a couple of days later, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. Question. So yes, put them in the refrigerator, because that will slow down the activity of the yeast and bacteria, which will slow down the production of the gas buildup in the jar. Because believe me, I have left mine a couple of days too long outside of the refrigerator in the second ferment, and I have literally had to come outside and pop the tops, and it would blow the tops across the jar. So the yard from the jar. So don't make that same mistake, because he would always get so mad. He would be like, "You're gonna kill us!
Knock an eye out or something.
You've got to stop doing that." So yeah,
that's a good question. So question for Lorraine says, can you recommend any protein powders or nutritional supplements when good food is not available? So we push vitamins and supplements, organic, holistic, natural. We actually make a lot of our own supplements based on little beef gelatin or veggie capsules you can pick up at Azure Standard.
Yeah.
And dehydrate, pulverize in a coffee grinder, and you've got your own supplemental herb. Now, here's another thing. If you are buying that organic protein, I don't like the soy-based or the plant proteins. I think that's counterintuitive.
Well,
so I would tell you,
what I did with
I would go whey. Okay, so first I would go with whey protein, organic whey protein, meat-based or animal-based, definitely. Animal organs based, things like that are both good. They don't have as much flavor to them, but they're actually more beneficial. So Misty we kind of did curds and whey the other day and made some mozzarella. Misty took the whey and was going to freeze dry it. Problem with the freeze drying of the whey is we just did beef livers in the
terrible
in the freeze dryer before.
It was have a liver smell in that freeze dryer.
So
if you
beef
have
liver
a
was all over our house.
Do not do beef livers. I'm just telling you now, don't put them in there, because it's bad. Okay, y'all, it's bad.
We don't like livers or anything like that. Just eat natural. So we put them in supplement form. So it allowed us to freeze dry them.
Oh Lord.
And be able to digest them in a
bad.
great way. And this is off our beef. So it's not like, they're good quality, high quality liver.
I cooked them and I barely made it through that. And then I put them on the pan in the freeze dryer, and it was bad. It was real bad. So I told Colby, I was like, if you don't grind these up, I'm going to throw up. So I made him grind them up. He got them out and ground them up and put them in a jar, and I labeled them and put them away. And I was hoping to put some in capsules and take if we needed them. The beef liver, y'all, I did chicken liver too. The chicken was not this bad. The beef liver was horrible. It was horrible. So I can still open my freeze dryer and smell it. So I ruined buttermilk after I made butter, and then I kept the whey after making mozzarella cheese, and I ruined all of that, because when I opened it up, it was like a wham of liver from that. I was like, we're just not even keeping this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Kathy.
And y'all's garden is just killing it. I actually had to get some cucumbers, because mine's late and theirs is showing out. So
come back.
Yeah. If I had to open that jar up again, I would have to either be almost dead or feeding my dogs for that liver. I just, that liver.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Missy used to do the same thing. We used a cheesecloth for a long time, and still pretty much do it. It allows it to aerate. Now, when we're putting it and bottling it, our kids like it to have kind of like a soda feel to it. So it would have its like carbonation. So that's the only time we cap it is when we're looking for carbonation.
All right, storage room is up to 79 degrees.
They would still be okay, but
yeah, I wouldn't try to use that area of stuff first.
Definitely.
Because heat, light, and moisture will ruin something faster than anything. Now, if it's canned, that's good. But you still, the cooler and the darker, the better. So if I had to store something in an 80-degree room, I would try to use that stuff fast.
All right, Iris, we don't drink either, but when you talk about liquor for tinctures, you need to look at vodka or Everclear or a high proof, high
bourbon
index.
Is one of my favorite things to make.
A whiskey, a moonshine, it's got to be high proof. I think 80 or 90 proof is if I remember right. But vodka is kind of your start, and everything up from it is what you
Happy
need to
birthday, Logan!
Happy birthday, Logan! How long do eggs last with hydrated? Basically, if you're doing, we've seen it. Some people, it just depends where you're storing them.
Yeah. Remember, again, cool, dark place.
Yeah,
you want to try to shoot for a cool, dark place.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
All right, anything else you can think of? I think we're wrapping it up.
Wrap it up. The mosquitoes have found our heat and blood, and our children. I think that the oldest is probably going to be ready to be done babysitting.
We thank y'all so much for being on live with us. We're going to try to do a few more lives on the Max Life if we can get it up and going. So hopefully we'll get on there very, very soon. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other thoughts?
I don't think so. Just we appreciate y'all as always. Thank you so much, because without y'all, this is not possible for us. And a lot of the things that we do and that we just want to share with y'all because we do them anyway in hopes to encourage and inspire people. And trying to get y'all off the microwave because we know it's not good for y'all. But anyway, we thank y'all guys. We thank y'all so much because we
have 2 new videos coming out tomorrow, one on this channel, one on the Max Life. So check those both out, and we hope you enjoy them.
Yeah.
God bless.
Happy homesteading, y'all.
Happy homesteading, y'all.